afternoon, everybody. We are here for the training for the VAT. Every day we are having trainings and we have requirements, so I feel appropriate to make a small introduction about value-added tax that is going to be implemented from 1st of January 2018. I got the Federal Law 2017 and it specifies in sections a lot of important information. Today we'll discuss what are the issues and important consideration that we have to know in order to comply with the law. I remember previously when we were deploying the softwares, or Oracle, SAP or Sage or any other software, so we used to disable the tax features, and now the VAT is coming, so a lot of planning strategy work is required in terms of the corporate side. I'm sure that all the entities are working on their systems and they are making invoices format changes in order to encounter the VAT invoices from the systems itself. So what is the Federal Law 2017? This is we will discuss in detail. I have a lot of questions from the audience which I will address one by one. Before I start, just a small question has been asked that what is the difference between VAT and sales tax? So we should know that tax is the source of income for every country, and there are so many school of thoughts how to collect tax, what should be the sources. So some countries they have a tax on finished goods, so we put it as a sale and a sale tax. But value-added tax is more comprehensive. It covers the whole processes of the supply chain. So at every level you pay tax. For example, farmer is going to sell, then a factory is going to purchase, and then of course if you see the final good and services on retailer is going to be sold. So this is how we are going to cover these three processes as a tax called value-added tax. Value-added tax is very important because it creates a broader base for income, and this income contributes to the national income itself. The chapter 1 of the law is definition on what is a business, who is a taxpayer, what is a tax return, how many times you have to file your tax, there should be a tax registration number. Then of course how to refund the tax, how to pay the tax, that there will be a tax assessment. Apparently those who are intended towards the tax consultancy and advisory, so for them they should have an activity approved from the Ministry of Economy, and then they will be registered as an agent, and then they can file the return with FTA with the consent of the client on behalf of the client itself. The objective of the tax is very clear and concise. Article 3 is about objective of the law. This law aims to create a clear understanding of rights and obligations between the tax authority and the taxpayer. Previously in United Arab Emirates, if you are a small company and you don't like to have a double entry bookkeeping system, you don't have a software, so somehow it was workable for you, but once the VAT will be implemented, so you are required by law to keep the bookkeeping and the accounting records for at least 5 years, and it should have a clear indication of the VAT, and all receipts and invoices issued and received should be properly filed, and entered in the system, because the tax authority can check, ask for detail and system anytime for their verifications. Currently, the tax return has to be filed in Arabic language unless a new ordinance or rules comes. So we still need more information about it, that for free zones how it is going to work, and for the mainland companies it is primarily the basic language will be the Arabic one, and any translation from the legal translator will be required in order to deal with the Federal Tax Authority. Article 6 is more about tax registration or deregistration and amendment. So there is a threshold that you will meet, so you have to register with the tax authority. You can voluntarily also register even you have a below threshold with a zero VAT invoice. That option still always open for you. Article 7 is about legal representation. If you are a legal representative of someone who is a taxpayer, so you should immediately inform within the prescribed 20 business days to the authority for this information. Article 8 is more about tax preparation and submission. So first of all, we should know what is a taxable person, taxable company, and every taxable company, of course, is going to prepare the tax return for each period. So every taxable company is going to pay the tax for the tax period. They will submit the return to the authorities. Then they will settle any amount that is due. Any incomplete tax return will be considered as it is not even done. So that's why we need some advisor, we need some knowledge that how to put more clarity on how to file the returns, how to register yourself, how to make your online account, how to prepare your VAT reports. These are really important to understand for a company. So in UAE, it's really a hot news nowadays that every second accounts background person is intended and very hopeful to get the tax consultancy. So that originate a concept of tax agent. So you can be an agent. You have to register yourself with the Ministry of Economy, and you will be a licensed agent, and you can file the tax return on behalf of a client. So it seems a growing business and a trend, and I would suggest that people should explore more into to get beneficial gains in the upcoming seasons. And of course the other side is that they should also educate, update the companies that how to prepare their accounts in compliance with the Federal Tax Authority, and how to submit, what are the rules, regulations, and what could be the harmful effects if they don't understand, they don't prepare a system, and their returns are not in alliance with the regulation of FTA. This will be a great value that a business can bring to the companies right now in the context of VAT, which of course will be implemented from 1st of January 2018. There are some conditions, of course, if you are registered as a tax agent, which we generally study in other qualifications, that you should be honest, you should be objective, and you should be independent. So it can give a transparency in the whole process. Of course, as a registered agent, you should have proper education and experience to deal such complexity of the transactions related to VAT. Of course, you should have a professional insurance indemnity as well as a requirement of the Federal Tax Act. If you are a tax agent and you want to suspend your practice, you have to immediately inform to the tax authority about your decision. Article 15 is more about appointment of a tax agent. So if I'm a company and you're a tax agent, so I can take your services. You will prepare my returns, you will be an advisor to me. So far it's very easy. If you're a company, you have a tax agent and you are not satisfied with the services, so you can discontinue the services and inform the FTA, and then you can find another agent of that serves your need best. There is no such formal requirements to remove the old one and to get the new one. Article 16 gives the right to the tax agent that he can have the full records of his clients, and in case if the tax authority asks for it, he is liable to produce on the behalf of the client. Article 17, it's more define the right of the regulator, and they have a full right to audit, inspect the client's document, and for that they can visit the business premises as well. General requirement is that the authority will inform the client and give a 5 days business notice in order to visit for an audit for the tax purposes. When the authority is doing your audit, so they have a right to take or ask for a sample set of the documents in order to conclude their remarks on the audit itself. There could be some administrative penalties that you can have if you are not doing the return in a proper way. So any kind of situation arises, authority will notify you within 5 business days. For example, you are failed to submit a return. You submit a return, you don't have any evidences, documents, supportive documents with you. Your company does not have a bookkeeping system, and you don't have VAT invoices. So there could be some scenarios where you can be subject to administrative penalties according to the Article 25. So Article 6 define the penalties, and as I told you, value-added tax has to be taken very serious because it has severe penalties. You can be imprisoned, and you can be subject to a monetary fines, and both. So it depends on the severity of your negligence in terms of your VAT registration and submission of your return. So I will advise you to take it very serious and read it how to handle these issues, or hire a tax registered agent to help you for such purposes. Tax evasion is a crime, serious crime, so we should not do this. And what you will do, that will be fall between in the category of tax evasion. So suppose you are a company and you are taking tax, you are collecting VAT from your customers and you are not depositing to the authority, so this will be it will be treated as the tax evasion. You are not registered for that. So, and sometimes you deliberately understate the value of your invoices in terms of sales, and overvalue your purchase invoices. So this kind of unfair practice is subject to very strict treatments, and you can face proper imprisonment or monetary punishments. A lot of people ask this question that VAT will be on goods or services. So as we say that VAT, another name is consumption tax. So any kind of consumption good and services, the tax will live away. So first of all, you should know that which industry you operate into. This industry is exempted, means you don't need to pay VAT, or if it is non-exempted, so how much, what are the categories fall in this main category that we should know in order to gauge that are you a business that should register for the VAT and file your return. So if you are a company and your revenue increased 375,000 dirhams, you must register for the VAT with the authority. So how it goes is the upper threshold is 375. If you are exceeding that, of course you are on the mandatory registration of VAT. But if you are below 375 and between 187,500 is minimum, so you have a choice. You can register as a voluntarily, you can register for the VAT. But below than that, of course, it will not be value added and it will not be required as well. So what are your responsibilities as a company? Of course, when you sell something, you give an invoice which has the VAT. So customer is paying you. This is, you have collected from them to deposit in with the authority. And some on the opposite hand, when your purchaser or procurement is going to buy something, so you are paying tax. So you are paying tax, you are receiving tax. The difference of this is, of course, is your payable or receivable. If you have, in any case, you have to file the return. If you have claim to reimburse, then there is a procedure that you have to follow. And if you have a payment, so you have to go through the online account and make the necessary payment with the due course of the procedures. Yeah, so a lot of people are asking what will be the pattern of VAT filing. It is monthly, weekly, quarterly. So generally it is quarterly, and it will be filed by using the e-services which is mentioned on the website, and within the 28 days of the quarter that will be announced. But of course there might be some complex scenario. When the situation will arise, we will study and see that what could be the best way of action in that consequences. This is a very important question, that how many years I have to keep the, if I'm a company, how many years I have to keep the records of VAT invoices. So answer is that 5 years we have to keep it as a hard copy. Minimum requirement for your hard copy for as invoices should be with you at least 5 years. Some people also ask this question that I am paying customs duty, so will this custom duty is going to adjust against the VAT? So be clear that VAT is different and custom is different. There is no inter-adjustment between both. In United Arab Emirates, real estate sector is one of the largest industries, and we have a lot of developers. They are making residential and commercial projects. So if you are a construction company, you are into real estate, be clear that for any commercial property, whatever raw material supplies you buy, you have to pay VAT 5% on that. Suppose you are a UAE national and you are making a home for your personal use. Now every time when you buy the raw material, you pay VAT. So at the end of your completion period, you can claim reimbursement for these expenses that you make to make your personal home. So it's a great regulation by the authority, and it is really appreciable. So we have some exempted items also from the VAT, which is the the export of goods and services outside to the Gulf Economic Council. There are some items related to sea, international transportation, some A-grade investments, newly constructed residential properties, supply of certain educational services, and healthcare. These are apparently exempted industries, but of course we have to see that which trade license you have, and this trade license has which activity and which main category it falls into. So you can contact your tax agent for further clarification on this matter. We are expecting that VAT will have a lot of groupings, so you have to see which group you fall into. This will help you in so many ways in order to file your VAT returns and calculations. Good news for the businesses are that the VAT will take consideration of the bad debts. So if you have bad debts that you have written off, of course that will be considered in the VAT, but of course there are some technical implications of that. So case to case basis we can explain and handle the scenarios. There is always a question that is there any difference between VAT for the larger entities and is there any relief for SMEs? So keep in mind there is no difference between the size of the organization. VAT in terms will be considered in terms of the exempted, non-exempted, and the grouping of the sector itself. If you work in insurance company, so be clear that the life insurance is not subject to VAT, but the other insurances like vehicle or fire, these are subject to the value added tax. It is expected that the fee-based financial services will be taxed, but the margin-based will be exempted. Those who are from Islamic banking or Islamic products, they have a question that will Islamic investment products will be considered for VAT. So we have to, and because we have to see Sharia compliance and other regulations, so you have to see that which product is comparable to the conventional products, and that products can have a VAT on them. There is a sort of good news for the UAE nationals that if they don't have registration with VAT and they have paid some expenses in the shape of VAT and they want to reclaim, so they can reclaim those expenses without having a VAT registration. There is also a general question that will it be possible to issue cash receipts against the VAT invoices. So VAT invoice is must as the formats and guidelines are given in the legislation. So always a company has to issue a VAT invoice and they should maintain it for at least 5 years. If you are an importer and you have a question that on the import you are going to pay tax, VAT, so make it sure that you will pay tax on imports. VAT is going to add value, and of course it is going to document the economy, and so it is likely expected that additional business information need to be disclosed to each Emirates that you are resident of. You must be preparing yourself for disclosing your revenues and other important information to the required authorities. For example, when we go to UK and if we are not the resident in United Kingdom, so whatever we will shop, we will pay VAT, and on the airport there is a special section we can claim reimbursement for that. So there are different rules all over the world. Same way in UAE, if you are a visitor, you are a tourist, and tourist is the main strength of the economy. So already prices will include the VAT, so there will be no reimbursement for such scenarios. But of course, the prices and other things are likely too low in comparison with other economies, that a shopper or a visitor who comes here and for tourism and do a lot of shopping will not feel any stress on their shopping figures. Yeah, so tax is really exciting, and a lot of other information we will keep sharing. This is just the first bulletin, and I will encourage you to keep tuned in our channel, and any new updates we receive for the VAT, we will release another video for it. Thank you very much for your time, and thanks for watching. If you have more inquiries, you can send us an email and ask for further details.